this record will show kind of a side to the band that people might not have seen before. We're really at a point too where we feel like commercially we've been blessed with so much success that we're afforded the opportunity to just artistically do what we think is the most meaningful to us and going to be the most lasting and important. And that's the thing about the commercial success is you never can control what happens to the record once it's released, but you can control the process and the record that you make and what it sounds like. And I couldn't be happier with the work that we've done and the experience we've had. And I am really excited for everyone to share in that.
Our band is so bad at coming up with titles for things. It's like, that's gotta be one of our weakest points. I mean, we have a DVD called Frat Party at the Pancake Festival. Like, we're horrible at it.
The album title for this was definitely, I think, tougher than writing some of the songs that we worked on. We just went through so many ideas, and I think what was tough for us is that we spent so much time and put so much into this record, and we were trying to think of an album title that's gonna, in one or in a few words, explain this whole process to somebody.
But when you get to the end of a record and there's the pressure of like this 12 to 14 month album that has all this effort and emotion and energy put into it, and you've got to put a name to that thing, it's just so difficult.
It's challenging to title anything. Like, we have a stupid name for a band called Linkin Park. It makes no sense at all. It took us a long time to come with the album title, because it was like, okay, we have a concept here. Like, we have a lot of things that we want to incorporate, but just nothing really sounded right. And everyone in the band's real picky. Like, someone will say it's to this or to that, and it's like, even though that doesn't make sense to the next guy. I think everyone threw tons of names in the hat. No one ever uses my names, because I think the one I wanted was Galactic Platypus. Didn't really make sense.
There was definitely a point where I was gearing myself up to be very unhappy with and disappointed with the album title. It was back earlier on. We had a couple different ideas that had been kicked around, that kind of stuff, and there was one that a couple guys liked. A couple guys were kind of wishy-washy on, and I really didn't like. That it was In Triumph and Tragedy. But yeah, I was pretty skeptical on that, and so the guys were humoring me and continuing the process, but I think especially a couple of them were really, saying they thought, like, if it doesn't come to anything better, like, then it's just going to be that.
The album title, the one we actually ended up going with, when it came across, it just stood out to me above all the rest, and there was some cool meaning behind it, and actually Chester had emailed it around to us, and then Mike made a little change to it, and it just sounded right. And I think also I was just tired of going through album titles, and I know that once people hear the record, then they're going to associate the record with that album title rather than the other way around.
I cracked the code on that one. We were lucky on Hybrid Theory. It was easy. That was our name. It's like, we had to change it. Oh yeah, watch this. We'll call the record Hybrid Theory. Meteor was a more difficult experience. It was like we wanted something epic sounding, that was unique, and like every epic sounding word in the world has been taken by a band. You know what I mean? So that was interesting. But on this one, it was like we wanted something that like kind of had meaning to it, that captured the feeling of the record.
Chester's email that came out, I don't know, I think he got it off like a TV program or something.
I've been watching I'm a History Channel, Discovery Science Channel, like that's all I watch, like all day long. I've like gotten really bored with television, and movies, so like I watch and I learn stuff that I think is really cool. And I was watching the special on the Doomsday Clock, and how it was the inception of the Doomsday Clock after the United States dropped nuclear weapons on Japan. And so it was developed as kind of like the idea to kind of mark the end of the world. And it can move back and forth, the more heated things are in the world, the closer we are to midnight. And there's only 15 minutes on the doomsday clock. So you can either go from the 9 mark to the midnight mark. And so the idea is that midnight is the end of the world. It's nuclear, bombs are dropping everywhere, nuclear winters ensued, everything's gonna die, kind of idea. And it's moved, I think, like 18 or 19 times since its inception, and it's gotten as close to like 2 minutes, which is kind of scary. And so I kind of thought that's a great concept, and the narrator said, the clock moved to 3 minutes to midnight, and I was like, that sounds rad, that just sounds good.
He just talked about the idea of minutes to midnight. I think his original one was the idea of calling it like 3 minutes to midnight.
It's funny because it sounds like such a punk rock thing, like it's such a metal name, which is great because the album's not a metal album. So to go with something that's that dark was fitting, because it was like that cool contrast. This album is really dark as far as its content. It doesn't have to be loud to be dark. It can be real quiet, and then you listen to the lyrics and you realize that there's a blackness to the lyrics. And the title, Minutes to Midnight, felt like it had that.
I really like that. Immediately I saw it and I was just like, that's awesome. Just the idea of minutes to midnight can mean so many different things. It's got that feel of like something important. It's got that feel of like not necessarily impending doom, but just something like looming, some kind of change happening or something that's upon you. And in addition to that, for me, the album title really worked well with a lot of the songs and a lot of the themes that were going to be on the songs. Mike and Chester really working into some different areas lyrically than they'd ever done, and just kind of that maturation process.
The title it references where we feel like we are as a society here where we live in the U.S. in the world, how things are just kind of like teetering on the brink of like all out like war and just conflict all the time. You're just always bombarded with these stories of like things going wrong and people hurting each other and like technology going awry, you know what I mean? And then that led us to thinking about it in terms of the music industry and where, the place where we kind of exist and where we live. Like the music industry has been beaten down year after year. It's literally like this doomsday clock is ticking for the CD.
So Minutes to Midnight kind of made sense. Everybody got really excited about that, and so it was nice that finally, like after I think we've been working on this title for like 6-7 months, maybe longer, that there was something that everybody kind of went, yay, that's great. So, and it's fun to be the guy that came up with it, because that makes me smarter than everybody else.
Chester may claim that he's excited about it because he named it, quote unquote. He's going to relish in glory forever for that. But I may have been even more excited about it just because I was saved from an album title I didn't like at all.
That's 2 out of 3. Hybrid Theory was mine. And Frat Party at Pancake Festival was mine also.
What I've done is the first single off this album, and it encompasses what the album's about, for me at least. It deals with being at a point in time where you recognize the past and you're kind of figuring out what to do next, And we went in with a specific goal of really trying to bridge everything we'd done in the past with what this album had become. Maintain the integrity of the album, but at the same time, help people kind of make that transition of what we've been doing over the last 1.5 years, 2 years with the new music.
It's a great song for us to put out there as the first single to just kind of tie together some of the stuff we've done in the past with where we're going, and I think it's a great bridge for for our fans to bring them over from this other part where we were before over into the new music that we've made. And I think that it even took us a little bit to cross that bridge.
Basically, like, we turned the record in, and you know, they were really excited about the record. They thought, you know, they were like, we have singles 2 through, you know, infinity here. Like, and we just don't feel that there's something that bridges, you know, where you guys were to where you are now. And it was really important to them that there was a song that did that. So Mike was like, fine, I know exactly, I'll go home and write it. And like, he did it. He like went home and wrote it. And I remember coming in and listening to the track, and I was listening to it, and I was like, that's a great song, and like, it'll be not a problem to, like, you know, get this thing done. Now we have to do is worry about the lyrics, because, you know, Dave knows, and we were kind of joking about it, you know, we were joking about it the other day, but like, lyric writing can be a challenge, considering, you know, like, we rewrite lyrics for a month on every, you know, each track. You know, we do so many different variations. So like, that was the only thing that we needed to make sure we did, and it came together, and it's a good track.
This track, one thing I really liked, especially lyrics, that shined through for me on this song was that I felt like, you know, we had challenged them through the entire process. The lyrics need to be great, like, you know, these can be better, and they kept kind of living up to those higher standards. And on this song, it was, you know, some of the same thing, but it really pushed through, and the song, to me at least, almost turned out like there's this idea of kind of like forgiving yourself, or just getting to a place where you can, you know, leave that behind and move forward in a positive way, which to me was a really different and new theme than anything we had done, and at the same time it was done in a manner that I felt was really representative of, ironically, ourselves and what we've done in the past, but also what's on the new album. You know, lyrically, I felt like is also a really good bridge or introduction into kind of the steps we've taken since the last albums.
Mike was kind of like, when he was, you know, kind of we're justifying the lyrics, because we often do that. You know, Mike and I are like, these lyrics are great because of this reason, and then we feel confident when we go in, like, we can, you know, avoid too much change because we like have this really great explanation of why the lyrics are so good. But he was like, you know, it's kind of like asking forgiveness for the fact that, you know, our music when we came out was pretty immature. Like, we were all kind of young, and we were looking at it from we were looking from a very biased kind of point of view when we were writing our earlier stuff, and now we're kind of like opening up to all these different ideas, and we're really trying to live up to what we've said in the past, which is like, we can play with anybody, we can write any kind of song, and we can pull it off, which is like kind of cocky and immature too, but like, now we're really doing that, and because we did it, we kind of like, you know, took a lot of people back, or took a lot of people by surprise. So it's kind of like, you know, sorry for being, you know, so misguided in the past, but now we're, you know, so here we go. We're moving on to something new and different.